Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never met me, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And quite often, you'll have me come in, and it's a little bit of a nervous laugh. Maybe it's something that I'm anticipating. Sometimes it's the light bulb that goes off in that second. Sometimes it's just, most often than not, it's just me, myself going, hit that button, Cindy, just go live. And I don't have a topic in mind. And for the most part, I try not to, because I know that when I come in, that I'm just giving this platform, to those other parts of me, because those other parts of me have been with me all day. And not just been with me all day, I've been with those other parts of me all day. Sometimes it's just a point where we just gotta separate from each other. And right, I try not to be relational with those other parts of me. I'm right. I don't understand it, but I do understand Cindy, the human. But I understand also that as I assimilate, as I amalgamate, that I'll be changing. I don't mean to be doing all this. This is something new that I've picked up. I've noticed in the past few months that I've been more, I don't know what you call it, more physical, more flamboyant with my hands. Like I'm trying to explain something and I don't mean it to be that way, right? I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's something that needs to be resolved, but I'm sure if it irritates anybody, they'll let me know in the comments. And I would hope that that's what would happen, right? This is how we get better, is by the input of others, right? By the recognitions of small inadequacies sometimes. Probably sometimes it's a lot in how we present ourselves. I know when I'm online and I'm, delving into some of my favorite content creators, that they have such a physical persona, you know. I don't mean to come in looking like Ma Kettle. I don't think I look like Ma Kettle. But in that casual, but the idea for that is that, that maybe that I could meet people on their own levels, that somebody like me has gotten themselves in the same doo-doo, maybe not had the exact same story, but knows in themselves that they were meant for something more, that they were meant to be somewhere else than where they're at. And, are treading a little bit of water themselves, making that effort. I mean, that's my target audience, It's in those difficulties. It's in those things where we look out in the world and everybody seems to got it down packed. They seem to be able to just walk smoothly. And for us, it's a big deal. It's like it's the end of the world, the biggest catastrophe ever. It's something that we can't even talk ourselves into, as bad as like stage fright, right? And that holds us up. And it doesn't make us special needs. It just means that we have different challenges to overcome, because everybody has challenges, right? Emotionally, physically, mentally, you know, and I like to swing with people who recognize that, who recognize that. sometimes we don't always recognize it publicly by screaming it out to the world, all our faults and all those things that we're not confident in, or those things that we just don't have strength in. We don't want to shout that out to the world, but at the very least, be confident in ourselves and in accepting in ourselves that we can resolve some of these issues. And then after you resolve the issues, which is usually the case because you guys hear me talk about being a VLT addict, honestly, if I have to think about it honestly, I don't know if I was still a VLT, video lottery terminal. I was a gambler, right? Um, I don't know if I was still a gambler, if I would be so open about talking about it, right? I don't talk about my evening pig outs. I haven't had one, you guys, in 2 weeks. I'm on this new plan of not eating after 8 o'clock at night. I was eating at 5 minutes to 8 tonight, but I shut myself down and I just kind of forgot my own rule. And I looked at the clock going, oh my goodness, you can't be eating this, Cindy. And I'm talking about, yes, you can, Cindy. You can cook it really fast. You can get it down. And I did. And I wish I could come in and say, and I didn't enjoy it, and it was all rushed, and I didn't do it the way that I wanted to, but I managed perfectly. I just went calmly, and if I wasn't going to get it down, I would have just wrapped it up and I would have put it in the fridge for tomorrow. But for 2 weeks now, I have set this rule: no eating after 8 o'clock at night, and I've been doing really good on it. Um, I'm finding I'm getting up more often in the night, probably because there's no heavy foods inside of me that are are blocking the need for any fluids to get through me. I don't know what the reasoning is in that. Um, but I'm feeling it out. It is in that experimentation, and I did lose a few pounds, but whenever you change your eating habits, you lose a few pounds, right? Things takes a while for your system to digest a little bit. So, and I haven't gotten on the scale, and it's not a matter of losing weight. It's a matter of digesting well at night, sleeping well at night, not waking up with um, acid reflux, or well, going to the bathroom more, but it doesn't seem to slow that down. But how would I know that unless I gave it a shot? And it's encouraging enough for me to keep going on with that habit because I seem to get more done in the evening, right? My house chores are done. I'm getting up to a clean house in the morning. There are a lot of benefits. And I don't think it's healthy to, right, always have food in your gut. There should be times and spans, that there should be absolutely nothing in your gut at all. And for me, I'm a good sleeper. And so usually there's not stuff in my gut. But if I'm staying late at night and I'm eating right up until I go to bed, then all that time that is spent or is supposed to be spent on rejuvenating my body, right? Not just rejuvenating my mind. I've never been someone to have difficulties in sleeping. I don't nap during the day, but I am pretty solid, pretty within a minute or two from putting my head on the pillow. I am out and I wake up usually 1 to 3 minutes before my alarm goes off, right? My system is pretty regulated that way. And I feel good because I'm refreshed and I've slept solidly. But the breakdown of my body, you guys know I'm pretty happy with the fact that I have some pretty decent health, and I'm not tooting my horn out there because I know even in my own age that that's not a commonality, right? That usually things are starting to break down at that point, and we have issues and conditions and illnesses. And I am grateful for my good health, but there are reasons that I believe that I can say that, and it's not just being consistent in my vitamins and minerals, it's having my good sleep. But what about that digestion when I'm going to bed? If I'm having those late meals and all that energy that's supposed to be spent on rejuvenating my body, I'm sleeping, I'm not burning or doing anything, I'm not thinking or stressing, like my body can go to town and I could put this open for business sign up the moment I wake up in the morning and open up my eyes, right? But if I'm not digesting well and that energy is going into helping my body digest and get that stuff ready to be moved along, right? Then I think I'm kind of defeating the purpose, right? There's a gentleman out there, Danny Glover, that's his name, Danny Glover, and he's a faster, and meaning he fasts quite often, and his reasoning in his fasting is the fact that in the days of cavemen and the Neanderthals and the Neolithics, right? Like it wasn't like you sat down 3 times a day to have a meal, right? You usually had a good meal if you were lucky once every few days. And that was the norm. That was the norm back then. It's those social aspects of um, community and evolution that kind of put us in that state that we needed 3 meals a day. Marketing, business, right? We don't need 3 meals a day. And that's I feel is very much the truth. I mean, I realized what was good for the Neanderthals and the Denisovans and right, and the early Homo sapiens is not necessarily right what we're expected to be moving in right now. There are lots of things that we don't need, and there are lots of things that we're doing right now, like milk. We are as a species now, Homo sapiens now can properly digest, right? There's still that small group, the lactose intolerant, and I suspect if they went in for some tests, they would see they were probably scoring pretty high in maybe Neanderthal, right? Maybe it's something that we carry down like epigenetically, not just things that we emotionally and mentally pass down to our kids, but physically we pass these things down to our kids. And as a whole, right, we have intermingled enough that, right, as a species, a whole species, we are pretty much lactose tolerant, right? That is not something that we were created to be. This is something that we adapted, right? And lots of characteristics that humans have been adapted, like some of these islands, right, in the Caribbean and stuff, where they can stay down in the water for like 10 minutes because they've adapted that way, right? Or the guides who take the hikers up Mount Everest, right? They're specifically the guides because they live and they've grown in those environments, right? In Tibet, there's so little bit of oxygen going on, and people are actually living in those heights, right? In those elevations. And so, different groups in different parts of the world have different strengths in that. So there are different characteristics, but a lot of those characteristics are nurtured into us. They're not our nature, right? The baby kittens aren't born going, "Ooh, where's the cat litter box?" Right? And yet they distinctly know where the cat litter box is, right? So we have things that are imprinted in us. Otherwise, how would pigs know that their boobies full of milk or for the baby pigs, and like there are lots of things that we wouldn't instinctively know unless they were genetically built into us, right? I'm not an expert on that stuff, but I find this stuff interesting. And like I said, sometimes it's just about knowing enough to get yourself into a conversation. Because if you can get yourself into a conversation with an expert could course correct you in the way that you think, in your ideas, in your perspectives, right? And that's the truth, right? For sure. And it's the way that I've moved my entire life, and I've learned so much out of my experiences. And for most of those, right, I was curious, and I was a student, and I was a spectator, and I was welcome to be a participant in something that I would never have thought for myself in any way. And yet, because I was open, I'm going to have to attribute it to my dynamic family, right? My dynamic family, we all rubbed off. My sister was at Tracy was an adventure. My niece Ashley, oh my goodness, she travels the world. I'm so proud of her. She's got a great job with the Red Cross. Like, this family that I belong to is moving along so well. But if you just look back, just even into the last generation and the generation before, the problems, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, and to see how well the family is doing now. It's a process. We're not even close to being done, but it's pretty amazing when you do recognize that progress. And you gotta attribute to somebody starting it. And I don't know whether it was one of my grandparents or if it was my father, right? But that ball got rolling in every generation, right? Not necessarily doing better than the generation before, but contributing something to the table that's valuable and useful. And I believe that for myself. That's my intent, right? It's not a selfish idea. It's for those other parts of me, so that they understand, right? That these experiences that some of us have that stunt us could very easily stunt us to the point where we don't even come to the table, that we don't even come to the table. And those are the people that I would love to help. And I understand, because I was one of those people, and I understand that sometimes it's going to be baby steps, right? I understand, and you have to be a little bit patient and understanding. And I know I'm in a group where patience and understanding are at the bottom of the list of priorities, but because I believe, right, that highly sensitives and empaths should be their own bosses when it comes to putting a roof over their head, putting a roof over their family heads, in creating the best life for themselves as they possibly can by still serving in a capacity, but not serving away in a way as serving, but more in a way as I'm serving, right? Because there is a difference between doing something because you have to and doing something because you want to. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know where that came from. It came from somewhere, obviously. I hope it hits. I'll come back into the live myself and see what the lesson is for me. You guys know the scoop. 54 powerful words. They're just powerful words. Each card is a powerful word that has impacted my life in some way. They are important when it comes to making movement because you know a lot of what I do here, if you hung out with me for any length of time, it's in my ideas that this is an evolutionary process that we're in, and that we're just right just to keep moving forward, right? I know sometimes it feels like a mug wire, like it just right to get through things, but if that's all you can do, right? That's all you can do. It's just you're doing. And that's the idea of just moving forward. That's evolution, right? Don't give up, right? Don't stop and look around to see what everybody else is doing, see the catastrophes and all that. You have to keep walking. You can scoop up along the way, right? Right? But it's that idea that just came to my mind, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Sometimes we get so caught up in stuff that, we're not to be caught up in, but because we're willing and because we want to help, that we tend to spread ourselves absolutely everywhere, right? And in the end, we become a little bit a nuisance, right? Not just to others, but to ourselves, right? Because we take ourselves away from what we're really supposed to be doing. The idea is just to keep moving, right? Just to keep moving. Okay, you guys. Let's grab a card. We'll just go into it for a couple of minutes and then we're going to call it a night. Oh, we're going to call it a week. It's Friday. If you guys want to pop in Sunday night, I have a great crew, Chatters Live. It's a live show that I've been doing for, oh my goodness, almost 10 years now. I'm not going to say 10, maybe 7, 8, maybe 8 years that I should go back and take a look when my first live show was. But it's been a very long time, and this crew has been with me for a very long time. They chat more than I do. If you wanted to come in and say hi and hang out with us, it's nice and comfortable, and it's a baby step. It's a baby step that's manageable, right? Sometimes it's just about getting your feet into the mix, right? And then just to recognize it's not so bad. Okay, you guys, here we go. That's a good one. Yes. It's a good one. It's such a baby step. If you come on Sunday night, it's such an amazing baby step. Amazing way to get it. This is sticking out, so we're gonna go with this one. Come on. Here we go. You guys are not gonna believe this. No, it's not the word community, but it's the word we got yesterday. Acceptance. Acceptance is being okay in not having a say, right? You have to be okay in not having a say in things. With my family, I right, sometimes we think we can see things so clearly and that we want to step in and save the day or point out the direction or point out the problem or even more point out the solution. And we have to understand that each one of us is living our own life, right? We're each living a life that we're creating, that we get to create in our choices and in that partnership with ourselves, whether you know it or not. Every single one of us is in partnership with ourselves, right? Yeah. Ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance is no excuse. It came to my mind, and it's so true. We are creating the best human being we possibly can. That's what we're supposed to be, but that's not always what's going on. And it's disheartening, and not only is disheartening, it can't go on that way, right? Mankind, Homo sapiens, right? Human beings, we cannot evolve if that doesn't let go of its grip. And it's a process, right? Baby steps. And this is what we have been doing. Like, we've gone a long time now without a world war. Now, that's something to be proud of. The small man has a voice. I've had my YouTube channel for 11 years now, every night, and I come live every night, 6 days a week. I'm here. I can say whatever I want in respect, because I am a YouTube creator, to make sure that I'm not putting my foot in my mouth and I'm not disrespecting and I'm not following the rules. So you want to make sure that you're holding up your end of that contract, because it is a contract of trust, right? And I have that platform. So, as a small man, as a small woman, right, that I'm grateful that I have that chance to have a voice, that I'm, right? I might not be super happy that I'm on camera, right? But for the first time in my life, right, that I have a voice. And if somebody wants to come in and join in the conversation, they're welcome in doing that, right? But it's my voice, a voice that's been probably shut down for a very long time. And even though I'm a little late to the table, right? I'm here, and I have to accept that I can't cry over spilt milk. I can't beat myself up. I can't quit in what I do, right? I can't change the the movement that I feel I need to make in that, right? But there are lots of things that I have to accept that I don't have any control over, because, right, as humans, we make choices, and in those choices we can make right, we can sign peace treaties, right? We can declare war. We can fire the little guy, right? We can wish somebody a good day. But it's every one of those choices that we make, and in those interactions with the people, in those choices, right? That kind of dictates the way the world moves, right? In how we evolve, in the etiquette, even, right? Of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And that's in constant change too, right? But in that resilience and in that adapt and conquer and accepting, right? That we don't always get a say. We don't always get a say, right? But there is one thing, right? You get to have a say when it comes to how you feel and how you think about things, right? But you just have to keep in that respect of the environment that you're in and who you're rubbing shoulders with. And it's something I've always done. It's something hypervigilance. It's something I did because, you know, avoiding conflict, people pleasing, right? But I'm getting much better. And it's in that evidence, right? It's in that evidence when I show up and you can see for yourself that maybe you'll decide that you're going to try it too, right? Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. Have a great night, and we'll see you Monday.